Lieutenant Tessa Tiny Rodriguez stood exactly 5 foot nothing in her regulation boots, which made her the smallest security officer on Galactic Council Station Epsilon 9. This fact delighted the Vrax to no end. "Look at the tiny pink creature," rumbled Gortak, alpha of the Vrax diplomatic contingent. His massive scaled fawn towered over her at nearly 8 feet tall, mandibles clicking in what passed for laughter among his species. "They send us their juveniles now? Or perhaps their pets?" Tessa took a deep breath, counting to 10 in her head. As the newest human diplomat/security officer on the station, she'd been warned about the Vrax, apex predators from a high-gravity world. They respected only physical power and viewed every interaction as a dominance display. "Ambassador Gortak," she replied with a practiced smile. "I'm Lieutenant Rodriguez, your new security liaison. I've been assigned to ensure your delegation's safety during the trade summit." The massive alien leaned down, his hot breath reeking of fermented meat as he inspected her like an interesting insect. His pack, 5 equally imposing Vrax warriors, formed a semicircle behind him. "How could something so fragile protect anything?" Gortak asked, addressing his pack rather than her. "These humans barely have claws. Their skin tears like paper, and their bones snap like twigs." Commander Jensen had briefed her thoroughly. Humanity was the galactic new kid on the block. Only 50 years into space exploration, they were still proving themselves worthy of their council seat. Every human on the station represented Earth, and protocol demanded they absorb a certain amount of alien, cultural differences. "I assure you, Ambassador, appearances can be deceiving," Tessa said, maintaining eye contact despite the way her neck cramped looking up at him. "Now, shall we discuss the security protocols for tomorrow's reception?" Gortak's upper lip curled away from razor teeth. "We will handle our own security, human. Your presence is unnecessary and unwelcome." A flash of movement caught Tessa's eye as one of the junior Vrax lunged toward her, stopping just short of contact, a classic intimidation display. She didn't flinch. "As you wish, Ambassador," she replied smoothly. "Should you reconsider? My contact information is in your welcome packet." As she walked away, she heard Gortak's dismissive snort. "She doesn't even smell afraid." Either incredibly stupid or dangerously overconfident. His pack's rumbling laughter echoed down the corridor behind her. Tessa smiled to herself. In the 3 months she'd been stationed here, she'd learned one important thing. In the game of interstellar politics, being underestimated was sometimes the greatest advantage a human could have. The diplomatic reception was in full swing when everything went sideways. Representatives from 27 species mingled in Epsilon 9's Grand Hall, sampling exotic foods and engaging in the delicate dance of interstellar politics. Tessa stood at her post, scanning the room with practiced ease. "Lieutenant Rodriguez," came a melodic voice beside her. "You appear troubled." Tessa glanced at Plex, the station's Moldovan cultural attaché, and with shimmering blue skin and 4 upper limbs, Plex resembled a humanoid octopus crossed with a runway model. "Just keeping an eye on our Vrax friends," Tessa replied. "They've been knocking back fermented Torah nectar all evening. Not a great combination with their territorial instincts." As if summoned by her concern, a crash echoed across the hall. Gortak stood over a toppled buffet table, green sauce dripping from his ceremonial armor, glaring at a trembling Floraxian diplomat. "You dare touch an Alpha Vrax without permission?" Gortak roared. Tessa was moving before the Floraxian could stammer a reply. The poor botanist species didn't stand a chance against an enraged Vrax. "Ambassador Gortak," she called, inserting herself between predator and prey. "A simple misunderstanding, I'm sure. Floraxians have poor depth perception." Gortak's attention shifted, his rage finding a new target. "Perfect. The tiny human intervenes," he snarled. "Always you creatures insert yourselves where you don't belong." The room had gone silent, the entire reception watching. Diplomatic incidents like this could unravel months of negotiation. "Just doing my job, Ambassador," Tessa replied evenly. "Maintaining peace is my responsibility." "Peace?" Gortak laughed, a sound like grinding boulders. "What do humans know of maintaining anything? Your species crawled from its muddy planet mere decades ago. The Vrax have been warrior diplomats for 10,000 cycles. His pack closed ranks behind him, a wall of muscle and scale. Perhaps, Tessa said carefully, our different perspectives bring balance to the Council. There is no balance between strength and weakness, Gortak proclaimed, loud enough for everyone to hear. The human serves as security. This is an insult to all who truly protect. I challenge you, tiny creature, to prove your worth. A collective gasp rippled through the crowd. A formal Vrax challenge was serious business. Declining meant permanent loss of face. Ambassador, interrupted Station Commander Jensen, hurrying over. Surely this isn't necessary. It is decided, Gortak cut him off. Unless humans hide behind rules when their weakness is exposed. Tessa felt every eye in the room. This wasn't just about her anymore. It was about humanity's standing. I accept your challenge, she said clearly. Standard diplomatic combat protocols. Gortak's mandibles flared in surprise, then settled into a predatory grin. I have 5 of my pack against you. No weapons, victory by submission or incapacitation. Commander Jensen pulled her aside. Lieutenant, you don't have to do this. We can file a formal complaint. With respect, sir. That would only confirm what they believe about us. Tessa straightened her uniform. What time shall we begin? Ambassador. 1 station cycle, Gortak replied. The combat arena. Come prepared to be humbled, human. As the Vrax delegation departed, Plex hurried to Tessa's side, all 4 hands wringing anxiously. Are you insane? They whispered. The betting pools already have you at 50-1 odds. Against you. Against you. Tessa smiled. Then put 20 credits on me, friend. You might get rich tomorrow. The combat arena was a circular platform 20 meters across, suspended over a cushioned pit designed to prevent serious injury from falls. Around it, viewing areas had been packed with spectators from every species on the station. The word traveled fast in space. Tessa stood in the preparation chamber, stretching methodically. She wore the standard-issue combat uniform, flexible, reinforced fabric that wouldn't restrict movement. The Vrax are already taking victory laps, said Plex, who had appointed themselves her unofficial coach. Gortak has selected his 5 strongest pack members. Each one outweighs you by at least 150 kilos. Good, Tessa replied, rolling her shoulders. Good. What part of this is good? I placed those credits on you as a gesture of friendship, not as a sound investment. Tessa grinned. Tell me about the arena conditions. Plex's color shifted to a concerned lavender. Station standard gravity, of course. Approximately 0.8 Earth normal to accommodate most Council species. Perfect, Tessa said, bouncing lightly on her toes. And the atmospheric mix? 22% oxygen, slightly higher than Earth normal. Lieutenant, are you actually planning strategy, or just postponing your doom? Tessa didn't answer, instead reaching into her locker for a small container of chalk. She dusted her hands thoroughly. Have you heard from Earth recently, Plex? She asked casually. The Moldovan blinked all 3 eyelids. Your homeworld. Not particularly. Why? Just wondering if anyone's mentioned where I grew up. She tightened her ponytail. A little place called Leadville, Colorado? Is that significant? The highest incorporated city in North America, over 10,000 feet above sea level. I lived my entire childhood breathing thin air at high altitude. Outside, the announcement system chimed, and bat participants, prepare for entry. In the arena, Gortak was giving a speech to the crowd. Today we demonstrate why physiology matters in security matters. Why do humans send their weakest to protect their interests? After today, perhaps they will learn. Through the entryway, Tessa could see the 5 Vrax warriors, each nearly 8 feet tall, with naturally armored hides, powerful limbs, and gleaming claws. They performed elaborate stretching rituals, displaying their physical prowess for the audience. Plex touched her shoulder with a gentle tentacle. It's not too late to claim a medical exemption. Tessa shook her head. The only way humans earn respect out here is by proving ourselves, one challenge at a time. She bounced on her toes again, feeling the lightness of the station's gravity. Besides, I've been bored lately. Lieutenant Rodriguez boomed the announcement system, "Please enter the arena." As she walked toward the bright lights and the waiting Vrax, Tessa heard the crowd's reaction, mostly sympathetic murmurs, and a few species making sounds she recognized as prayers for the dead. She stepped onto the platform, looking impossibly small before her opponents. "The rules are simple," announced the Phylaxian referee. "No weapons. Combat continues until submission, incapacitation, or exit from the platform. The human will face each Vrax warrior in sequence, with no break between opponents." Gortak stepped forward, towering over Tessa. "The last chance to withdraw, tiny one," he said quietly, almost kindly. "There is no dishonor in recognizing biological reality." Tessa smiled up at him. "Funny thing about humans, Ambassador, we've never been good at accepting limitations." The referee raised a limb. "First combat, Lieutenant Rodriguez versus Vrax warrior Krags. Begin." Krags, the smallest of the Vrax at only 7.5 feet tall, circled Tessa with predatory focus. The audience had fallen silent, collectively holding their breath for what they assumed would be a very short match. "I will try not to damage you permanently, human," Krags rumbled, mandibles twitching. "Perhaps just a few broken bones to teach humility." Tessa maintained her distance, analyzing his movement pattern. The Vrax moved with surprising grace for his size, but each step revealed crucial information: weight distribution, reaction time, preferred striking angle. Krags lunged suddenly, massive arms extended to grapple. It was like watching an avalanche in slow motion to everyone except Tessa. She pivoted at the last possible second, using her smaller frame to duck beneath his grasp and roll away. "Stand still." Krags growled, frustration evident as he turned to face her again. The Vrax attacked again, faster this time. Tessa sidestepped, feeling the air displacement as his claws missed her face by centimeters. The crowd gasped. "Is this combat or dancing?" Gortak shouted from the sidelines, "Finish the human." Krags redoubled his efforts, launching a series of increasingly aggressive attacks. Each time, Tessa evaded by the narrowest margin, never striking back, just maintaining constant motion. Sweat began to bead on her forehead, but her breathing remained controlled. 3 minutes in, the pattern changed. Krags was breathing heavily, his movements becoming less precise. The Vrax evolved on a high-gravity world with short bursts of predatory activity, not sustained combat in reduced gravity against an elusive target. "Becoming tired?" Tessa asked conversationally, circling just beyond his reach. With a roar of frustration, Krags committed to an all-out charge. Tessa waited until the last possible moment, then dropped flat to the floor. The Vrax, unable to adjust his momentum, stumbled over her prone form. As he fought to regain balance, Tessa sprang up behind him and delivered a precisely calculated shove to his shoulder blade. Already off balance, Krags toppled over the edge of the platform into the cushioned pit below. The arena fell silent in shock. "Victory to Lieutenant Rodriguez," the referee announced uncertainly. "By platform exit?" Before the audience could process what had happened, the second Vrax warrior stomped onto the platform. Drax was broader than Krags, with heavier armor plating across his chest and back. "Lucky move against a junior warrior," he snarled. "I will not be so easily tricked." "Second combat begin," called the referee. Drax immediately dropped into a lower stance, clearly planning to avoid his packmate's mistake. His eyes never left Tessa as he advanced cautiously. This time, Tessa changed tactics. Instead of evading, she moved toward him, ducking inside his longer reach. Surprised, Drax attempted to grapple her, but she slipped between his legs and delivered a sharp strike to the back of his knee, not enough to damage, but precisely where Vrax neurology was most sensitive. Drax howled, leg buckling momentarily. The crowd's murmuring grew louder. "The human knows our weakness points," growled Gortak from the sidelines. "This is dishonor. No rule against anatomical knowledge, the referee responded. The combat continues. Tessa kept moving, using the entire platform now. Each time Vrax committed to an attack, she would counter with a precise strike to a nerve cluster or pressure point, then dance away before he could respond. She never attacked directly, never matched strength against strength. 6 minutes in, Vrax was visibly slowing, his movements becoming sluggish and predictable. The Vrax's superior strength meant nothing if he couldn't connect. "How are you not tired?" he panted, mandibles flaring with exertion. Tessa smiled, her breathing elevated but controlled. Efficient energy management. Plus, I'm not carrying around an exoskeleton in low gravity. With a final desperate lunge, Vrax overextended. Tessa sidestepped, hooked her foot behind his ankle, and used his own momentum to send him crashing to the platform floor. Before he could rise, she applied precise pressure to a neural junction at the base of his skull. Vrax went limp, conscious but temporarily paralyzed. Submission by neural pinch, announced the referee, genuine surprise in their voice. Victory to Lieutenant Rodriguez. The crowd erupted in confused chatter. 2 Vrax defeated? Impossible. As attendants dragged Vrax from the platform, Tessa caught Gortak's expression no longer dismissive, but coldly calculating. He gestured, and 2 warriors stepped forward together. "This is irregular," protested the referee. "The warriors must face the human individually." "The human has proven unexpectedly cunning," Gortak replied. "We adjust our approach accordingly." Tessa wiped sweat from her brow. "I accept the modification." The twins Vrax warriors Grux and Vrax advanced in perfect coordination, clearly having trained together for years. Where the previous opponents had been all brute force, these 2 moved with tactical precision, attempting to herd Tessa toward the platform's edge. Aggressive adaptation, Tessa called to Gortak, never taking her eyes off the advancing pair. "Almost like you're worried." The audience had transformed. Species that had come to witness a human humiliation were now leaning forward in fascination. Several Moldovians had changed to their excited orange coloration. A group of Talaxians were frantically recalculating odds on glowing tablets. Grux lunged left while Vrax circled right, a classic pincer movement. Tessa waited until the last possible second, then executed a vertical leap that drew gasps from the crowd. In the station's reduced gravity, she easily cleared Grux's grasping claws, somersaulting over his head to land in a crouch behind him. "What sorcery is this?" someone shouted from the audience. "Not sorcery," Tessa replied loudly enough to be heard, "just physics and training." The Vrax twins regrouped and advanced again, more cautiously this time. Tessa let them come, conserving energy. 10 minutes into combat, and she was showing signs of fatigue, breath coming quicker, movement slightly less fluid. The Vrax noticed and pressed their advantage. "Tiring at last, human?" Grux taunted. "Your tricks have limits." "Everything has limits," Tessa agreed. "For instance, your species evolved in high gravity with abundant oxygen. Mine evolved as persistence hunters who could run prey to exhaustion." She suddenly sprinted directly at Vrax, who braced for impact, but at the last moment, Tessa dropped and slid between his legs, leaving something behind. A small packet burst against his ankle, releasing a cloud of fine powder. "Chalk dust." "Gah." Vrax inhaled reflexively, then began coughing violently. The calcium carbonate, harmless to humans, reacted with Vrax respiratory chemistry like tear gas. "Weapon," Gortak shouted. "Disqualification." The referee inspected the substance. Hand chalk. Legal athletic equipment, not classified as a weapon. While attention was diverted, Tessa had maneuvered Grux toward the platform's center, where the artificial gravity field had the slightest irregularity barely noticeable to most species, but she had spent hours memorizing the arena's specifications. Grux charged, and Tessa pivoted precisely where the gravity dipped. The warrior's momentum carried him forward as his foot encountered unexpected resistance. He sprawled headlong, crashing face first into the platform. Before he could recover, Tessa was on his back, applying the same neural pressure technique she'd used on Vrax, Grux went limp. Hey! Vrax, still coughing but determined, circled more warily now. Tessa looked directly at him, then did something truly unexpected. She yawned, deliberately and exaggeratedly. The Vrax, confused by this bizarre display, hesitated. In his culture, displaying teeth was either a threat or submission, not this strange human gesture. Taking advantage of his momentary bewilderment, Tessa charged at Vrax, expecting her to evade as before, was caught off guard by the direct approach. She slid the last meter on her knees, passing beneath his guard to deliver a precise double-handed strike to pressure points under both arms. Vrax's limbs went temporarily numb, and he staggered backward, tripping over the prone form of his twin and tumbling from the platform. Victory by exit and incapacitation, the referee announced, 4 opponents defeated. The crowd was in an uproar now. Several species known for their martial prowess were recording the match. A contingent of Arcturian military observers were gesturing excitedly at their data tablets. Gortak stepped onto the platform himself, mandibles fully extended in the Vrax display of aggression. The final warrior, a mountain named Vrax, followed close behind. Enough games, Gortak snarled. Rules modification, 2 against 1 for the final combat. Tessa was visibly tired now, her uniform dark with sweat, breathing labored, but her eyes remained sharp and focused. No objection, she managed between breaths. Final combat, called the referee. Begin. Gortak and Vrax attacked simultaneously, with none of the caution shown by previous opponents. They had watched, they had learned, and they were determined not to underestimate the human again. Tessa no longer had the energy for elaborate evasions. She took a glancing blow from Vrax that sent her skidding across the platform. The crowd winced collectively. Finally, Gortak rumbled in satisfaction. The natural order reasserts itself. Tessa rose slowly, favoring her right side where Thrax's claws had torn her uniform. She backed away, apparently seeking distance, but she was actually positioning herself precisely at the junction of 2 platform sections. As the Vrax advanced for the kill, Tessa stomped hard on the seam. The vibration triggered the platform's safety protocol, a momentary recalibration of the gravity field designed to prevent structural damage during heavy impacts. For 1/5 of a second, gravity dropped to near zero. Imperceptible to most species, but Tessa was counting on it. She launched herself upward just as the field fluctuated, achieving a height impossible under normal conditions. As gravity reasserted itself, she descended directly onto Thrax's shoulders. Before the massive Vrax could react, she had wrapped her legs around his thick neck and applied pressure to specific points on his skull. Vrax went cross-eyed, swayed, and collapsed in an unconscious heap. Sleep pressure points, she gasped, rolling clear. Works on most species with centralized nervous systems. Gortak stood alone now, mandibles clicking furiously. The Alpha Vrax was larger than his packmates, with natural armor thicker than military-grade plating. He approached more cautiously, having witnessed how quickly fortunes could change. The clever tricks and superior knowledge of physiology, he acknowledged. But you are exhausted, human. I am not. This ends now. Tessa didn't waste energy on a response. She circled slowly, buying precious seconds for her burning muscles to recover. The entire match had lasted less than 15 minutes, but she had pushed her body to its limits. Gortak lunged with frightening speed for his size. Tessa twisted away, but his claws caught her sleeve, tearing fabric. The crowd gasped as a line of red appeared on her arm. First blood, Gortak announced with satisfaction, at the beginning of the end. Tessa touched the scratch, superficial but painful. She looked up at Gortak, and to everyone's surprise, she smiled. Thanks for the adrenaline boost, she said. I needed that. With renewed energy, she charged directly at the Vrax Alpha. Gortak braced himself, expecting another feint, but Tessa delivered exactly what she promised, a direct attack. She dropped at the last moment, sliding between his legs as she had with others, but this time dragging her chalk-covered hand across the platform. As Gortak spun to track her, his foot landed on the chalk. In the slightly reduced gravity, The minute reduction in friction was enough to unbalance him. He staggered, arms windmilling. Tessa was already moving, driving her shoulder into the back of his knee. Gortak toppled backward with a roar of outrage directly toward the platform edge. In a desperate attempt to avoid falling, he grabbed for Tessa, catching her uniform. For a moment they teetered together on the brink. "Let go, or we both fall," Tessa gasped. "Then we both fall," Gortak snarled. Tessa met his eyes. "Your choice." She suddenly went limp in his grasp. The unexpected deadweight pulled Gortak forward. With a final roar, the massive Vrax toppled from the platform, dragging Tessa with him. They landed together in the cushioning pit below. The referee hurried to the edge. Both combatants have exited the platform. According to Regulation 17, subsection 4, when both competitors exit simultaneously, victory goes to the competitor who forced the exit. The arena fell silent, waiting for the ruling. After review of the final moments, the referee announced, "It is clear that the human deliberately sacrificed her position to ensure the Vrax exit. Victory is awarded to Lieutenant Tessa Rodriguez." The crowd erupted in cheers, credits changing hands as betting pools paid out. Plex was jumping up and down, all four arms waving excitedly. In the cushioning pit, Tessa lay catching her breath. Beside her, Gortak slowly sat up, mandibles clicking thoughtfully. "You could have won without falling," he observed. Tessa shrugged. Winning wasn't the point. "No?" Gortak's head tilted. "What was?" Earning respect. She sat up with a wince. "My species isn't the strongest or the most naturally armored. But we're adaptable, we're smart, and we don't give up." After a long moment, Gortak extended a massive clawed hand. Tessa took it, and the Vrax Alpha pulled her effortlessly to her feet. "The Vrax have misjudged humans," he announced loudly enough for everyone to hear. "Any species that produces warriors like Rodriguez deserves their place on the council." As medical teams swarmed the pit to attend to both of them, Commander Jensen pushed through the crowd. "Lieutenant," he said, torn between pride and exasperation, "that was either the most brilliant or most reckless display I've ever witnessed." "Thank you, sir," Tessa replied with a tired grin. "I think." 2 days later, the diplomatic reception resumed without incident. The trade negotiations proceeded smoothly, with the Vrax delegation notably more cooperative than in previous sessions. And if anyone noticed that Gortak now acknowledged Tessa with a respectful mandible click whenever they passed in the station corridors, or that requests for joint human-Vrax security training had increased 300%, they wisely kept such observations to themselves. Most telling of all, when the Draconian ambassador made a dismissive comment about fragile humans during the closing ceremony, it was Gortak who responded. "Do not be deceived by appearances." The Vrax Alpha rumbled. "These humans are vastly more dangerous than they look." Coming from the fiercest predator species in the quadrant, there was no greater compliment.